Welcome to UNCAGED. Today we're speaking with Corey Spiegel. Corey is the founder and CEO of Lighthouse, which is a diverse community of whip-smart women who meet both in person and virtually with the guidance of trusted experts. Their highly curated classes and events help you navigate the life stage you're in while connecting you with others who are facing similar challenges. Well, Corey, I think we all need navigation help for life stages, but I'm excited to learn more about what you are building at Lighthouse and how it's evolving. But before we get into that, Corey, tell us a little bit about you and your career.
Yeah. I always like hearing somebody else describe what I do. It always just makes me smile because I legitimately am that person that is seeking guidance and counsel and all of that. Hence why I started the business. But what I seriously think I realized early on is that life doesn't come with a manual, and there are no set instructions to follow when things get emotionally challenging. Mm-hmm. So Lighthouse provides relatable topics and conversations to make these topics not only relatable, but accessible. I had worked in the corporate business, in the entertainment business for 25 years, specifically in the entertainment space. And I was always thinking about starting my own business. And at that time, I really wanted to surround myself with other like-minded, smart, C-suite titled women that were thinking about leaving the business to start something on their own. And I really couldn't find any kind of community where I would be able to do that. I was under contract at the time, so I couldn't be public facing. And although there were a few Facebook groups, again, but they were all, facing forward, I needed to be a little bit more behind the scenes to decide that. And I kept thinking about my roles as a chief revenue officer, chief advertising officer, where I reported in specifically to a board of directors. And I just kept thinking, why can't I have a board of directors for my personal life?
That's a great idea.
Yeah. And then, it kind of got me thinking, and despite having a very, very close family and a large circle of really highly intelligent women, it's just not the same dynamic when you ask your BFF or your mom to problem solve. It just isn't. It's too biased. It's too soft. It's too loving. It's too rah-rah cheerleader. And really what I needed was the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. Yeah. So I created Lighthouse, a place where women can find clarity, wisdom, perspective. 5 years later, we are a global and inclusive community of women having honest, authentic, and really meaningful conversations about real life.
That's amazing. And I love the fact that at Lighthouse, you have these, you say, curated classes and events. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about what that actually is, how that manifests itself.
Sure. So I would hold in-person classes initially. This is all pre-COVID, because I felt that, look, I'm a phenomenal multitasker. And if you have me on a conference call, the likelihood of me, walking a dog and doing a load of laundry and returning an email all at the same time is highly probable. Yeah. But there is something to be said, especially in today's world, about human connection and putting that phone down and having a conversation with somebody and being able to sit in their joy, sit in their fear, look into their eyes and follow the reaction and be completely present. Yeah. So prior to COVID, I really was very insistent that all of the classes were in person, small groups, 15 to 20 women. And I would really cap them at that, because it wasn't me at a podium speaking. It was all of us sitting, in a circle and sharing. And I don't want to make it sound so woo-woo of yoga and we burn sage, but rather really there's no right way to go from A to Z. And to hear different people from around the world on a specific common denominator, specific theme or a topic caring for your aging parents, raising a teenager, getting your side hustle going, or becoming an entrepreneur, whatever it might be. People take different routes, and that doesn't mean that there's the right way, so to speak. But if you could sit with people that are all invested in the same conversation and at that same life stage that you are, that could provide, hey, you know what, I wish I did this in hindsight, or you know what, I would strongly recommend you to consider this. It just makes it makes you feel like you're not alone. There's a lot of validity, there's a lot of accountability, because now you have friends that are, again, new friends, almost total strangers, but there is a bond that happens when people sit.
It's an excellent point, Corey. And, I think about the challenges that we all face. I think that as adults, probably our children look at us and they say, oh, well, they must know the answer. But I think we're all always learning and always facing new life stages that we have to adjust to and process. But, one of the questions I had is, sometimes when people are presented with those situations where they're talking about a topic, it's hard to get them to truly be open and transparent. How do you navigate that?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. Part of my job is to not only curate and write the content of the topics that we're talking about, but also moderate them. And I am a person that is very open, and very often I will share personal experiences about a situation that I'm going through. For example, right in the middle of COVID, I'm a New Yorker, but I live in Los Angeles. As I mentioned earlier, my whole family is there. And right smack in the middle of COVID, with 12 inches of snow on the ground, my 76-year-old mom fell and broke her hip and broke her wrist, and had 911 ambulances coming to her home, taking her immediately into surgery. At that time, I'm in Los Angeles. Both of my kids have COVID. I can't travel, and I'm at a loss. I'm just straight up at a loss. So I created that topic as a means to help myself, to say, hey, if anyone else struggling, I have to imagine there are many of you out there that are not near your loved ones. How are we going through this? What resources are you finding? How do you communicate? How can you offer help and guidance when you're so far away?
It's such a useful resource. Incredible.
Most definitely. And so much so that the Wall Street Journal picked up on our story and asked to interview me and asked to interview my mom. So that we could share what that was like as a means to help other people, that were going through the exact same thing. I mean, we were one of millions of people that were in that same boat.
I mean, I know many people that had a variation of that challenge with even like scheduled medical procedures during COVID. So one of my friend's mothers suffering from cancer had to go in, but they didn't allow family members. They didn't allow anybody into the hospital.
My dad was allowed
can
in.
you imagine, like, the most traumatic thing for a family, and you can't be with that loved one? I mean,
and how do you have all these feelings, you have all these emotions, you feel helpless, you feel isolated, you feel alone, and it's a horrible, horrible feeling. And with so much uncertainty, and like I mentioned, my dad wasn't even able to be there because of COVID. It was crushing. So in answer to your question, how do I get people to talk about things that are vulnerable and personal, for that matter? I genuinely believe that when I share stories, because really, if I think about it, almost all of the classes that I write and the topics are really based on my own life or what I'm going through. So I'm very happy to share that, to say, hey, this is what I'm experiencing. You guys, anyone else? And I think making that path to openness, it creates a safe space for people to realize, we're not recording this conversation. There's nothing about it that is, it's private. It's judgment free. There's no right answer. It's just to have that moment to recognize that you're not meant to do life alone.
Now, I mean, Corey, these issues go in cycles. Certainly, there are going to be key topics today that perhaps are more important or more top of mind
Definitely.
than during COVID. I mean, what are you seeing bubbling up right now as critical things that are of concern for your community?
Yeah, it's a great question. What I'm really focused on is, again, just being a voice and a resource for people to realize that they're not alone. That's the most important thing. There are God knows how many statistics on mental health and mindset and building, lowering your stress levels and really kind of focusing in on the present.
Mhm.
And to some, it's a foreign concept, but it's a daily practice. So really where I'm focused a lot of my efforts right now are, recognizing that the vast majority are living with too much daily stress and it's ruining our lives. So I have sort of expanded my business a little bit to partner with luxury wellness retreats.
Oh,
So
cool.
the feeling for me has always been, again, since I'm an LA, a New Yorker, and now, well, I can't call myself an Angelino. I live in Los Angeles. Let's put it that way. You have cryo, you have yoga, you have Pilates, you have restorative yoga. All of these things for me are in my backyard. What I
Mhm.
don't have is access to the ocean and a beautiful environment and nature and sustainability on site. So
Mhm.
if I am going to go and have a facial or a massage or do things that are going to help better myself, what am I doing with my mental baggage? That's going to still ruminate and still be in my head as I'm taking a yoga class or a Pilates class. But when
Mm.
you marry the two to really have that full turn, full key cycle of mind, body, spirit, empty the contents of your brain so that you can really get into that massage and really help to unwind. The focus for me right now has been teaching those skills of how to talk about things so
Mm.
that mentally you can really put some space between it and unwind.
Really valuable there. I love the idea of combining physical and mental wellness.
Most definitely, most
Yeah.
definitely. So in the last 2 years, we've done several retreats. We've done them with the Carillon in Miami. We've done a couple with Savannah in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Mhm.
We've done one in Wisconsin at the Sand Valley Golf Resort, which
Huh.
was all based around Wim Hof training and
Mhm.
cold water exposure and immersion. I mean, very, very
Wow.
different. And we are currently partnering with the One Hotel Hanalei Bay in Kauai,
Wow.
where we have two retreats coming up. One that's at the end of this month. Its first retreat is called Just Be You, June 27th to July 5th. It's really for individuals seeking personal growth and kind of having a moment to pause and check in on their life. 6 months into the year, where am I, professionally? Where am I personally? Where am I spending my time? Am I putting it into too much into my work, too much into my health, not enough in with my family? A moment to really ground down and kind of think about what you're doing. And then a second retreat for couples, August
Mm.
1st through August 15th. And it's really inspired actually by my own 26-year marriage of
Mhm.
how do you keep the, zazazoo and the love, laughter, and fire alive, given the temperature and the culture of the world right now.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I love all of the places that you're doing these things. And it's certainly, as I said, bringing together physical and mental wellness makes a ton of sense. And
yeah.
Corey, I mean, you talked a bit about, the genesis of the idea and the work that you were doing in the entertainment industry. But, now that you're building Lighthouse and it's expanding, the question I always kind of think about a lot, maybe as an entrepreneur myself, is, what gets you up in the morning? What is that thing that kind of is the passion trigger for you to keep pushing to the next level?
Depends on the day. How's that for an answer? Uh,
It's probably the most honest answer. Yes.
yeah, yes, depends on the day, but just I've been doing this for quite a bit now. I have led over 550 classes and events, and I've moderated every single one of them myself. So
Wow.
I've had a lot of practice. But I think the thing that gets me out of bed in the morning is knowing, first of all, it is a tremendous privilege to sit in a room full of women who are willing to be vulnerable and are willing to talk about their life in a very honest and authentic way. I find that social media can be a vital tool, for some, and certainly to help build brand awareness. But
Mhm.
most of the time, people are not putting out their real authentic selves. And what I mean by that is it's a glossier version, it's a finessed version, it's a shinier, polished version of really what might be going on.
Yeah.
And I don't know if when you had kids, if you or your partner or wife had ever done like a mommy and me, or if everyone belonged to a book club. That sense of community surrounded by a common denominator really is spectacular. So the idea of having these relatable topics where people sit and genuinely open up about real life.
I mean, the value of this is just immense. I live in Miami, and one of the things that women tell me constantly in Miami is that they have a really hard time finding that female community.
Yeah.
They'll meet lots of people, but having that closeness is a real challenge. And I think it may just be something about the modern world that perhaps we have maybe almost forgotten how to do that naturally, and we need help. So
And we
makes
do, but
sense.
it's mostly because now we have so many different ways to further put a distance in between human connection. You can text,
Yeah.
you can Zoom, WhatsApp, you can make the phone call. I mean, there's just so many ways to now, I hear all the stuff about AI and I'm like, okay, great. So now I don't even have to leave my house. I can go see Paris from my house and never actually physically taste something or smell it. Like your senses just go away.
Yes.
But I agree. A very popular topic that I do is, I'm turning 51 in a few weeks. Making and maintaining adult friendships.
Mhm.
You're either a friend lives by you and then moves away, or you're at different stages, or one gets divorced, or one is sadly widowed, or
Yeah.
people are no longer putting forth the energy or the time spent or the effort in being friends. So what are you supposed to do? So
Yeah.
it's really a sense of looking at yourself. Where could you, provide, where could you be a better friend? Or
Yeah.
maybe it's time to stop putting in the effort and find a different group of people. And that's really what this is about. This is not really about bring your bestie and come and have these conversations. It's really about bring yourself and
Yeah.
be prepared to be really honest with yourself about what your efforts look like and about what your intentions are and about what doesn't serve you. Having that sort of recognizability of, I don't need 7 besties. I need 2. And I need
Yeah.
2 that really, like, I can call in the middle of the night at any given time that are going to be there. But how am I showing up? How am I presenting myself? How am I reaching out to those kinds of people to have that community?
I love
That
it.
that's what gets me
Yeah.
out of it.
I love it. It's so valuable. I mean, Corey, certainly the world doesn't stop having tons and tons of macro changes and
Right.
issues every day.
Right.
Here we are in 2023, and we find ourselves in a new economic cycle.
Yeah.
And certainly the world is presented with a whole new set of challenges. When you look out for the rest of the year and into next year, what are your hopes for the future?
I think my hope is that every woman will find her lighthouse at some point. Community, I think, is just so important now more than ever. And there's effort and consistency that's involved. And with anything, I think that there's a great amount of effort and practice that has to go into that. you do have to be willing to be open, to have some sense of curiosity about new things. You have to be open enough to be willing to hear new points of view or different perspectives. My hope for the future is loneliness is real and it's inevitable. Isolation is real and it's inevitable. Finding connection in a disconnected world is tough. And, human connection is that deep, deep bond that's formed between people when they feel seen and heard and understood. And it's very difficult to do that right now. So my hope for the future is that people will continue to exchange positive energy, continue to build trust, and can find comfort with total strangers that are feeling the same way, and sort of mitigate a little of that stigma of, I don't know who to talk to. I don't want to burden my mom or my girlfriend who's in the middle of a divorce and she's got 5 kids, and I don't want to dump on her, but I can't carry this mentally alone anymore. I really hope that people realize that there are other options, to be seen, heard, validated, and just get it out.
Such a refreshing message, Corey. And, as a fellow Gen Xer, I think that we were raised to kind of, suck it up, like, hey, let's not talk about these things. And I really
generational too, I don't think our parents at this age were having such open conversations. So I think it's a completely different world.
I think it's excellent. Well, Corey, thank you so much for being on Uncaged today.
Thank you so much for having me.
If someone wanted to learn more about what you and the Lighthouse team are up to, where's the best place to find you?
Best place to find us is on our website, which is findyourlighthouse.com. All of our social handles, which I will certainly send to you. People can reach out. You can follow me on LinkedIn at Corey Spiegel. We're always promoting new classes, or really just fostering engagement through our social platforms in terms of, what are you not necessarily struggling with, but sometimes it's really fun stuff. It's not all doom and gloom. Sometimes we'll do a beauty class that's, how do I really look my best without having to, I'm not going to the Oscars, I'm not going into a red carpet, but I'm going out with a girlfriend and I really want to make sure that I look my best. We will teach all of that stuff. The whole point is you have a lot more power than you think. It's tools to learn so that you have them in your toolkit. And it's just getting yourself to talk about the things that keep you up at night or the things that you want to improve. And we're allowing and providing a safe outlet that's judgment-free to allow people to do so.
That's wonderful. Well, Corey, thank you again for being on Uncaged. And you can find out more about Lighthouse at findyourlighthouse.com. We've been speaking with Corey Spiegel. She is the founder and CEO of Lighthouse, which is a diverse community of whip-smart women who meet both in person and virtually with the guidance of trusted experts. They have curated classes and events that help you navigate the life stage you're in while connecting you with others who are facing similar challenges. Corey, thank you so much for being on Uncaged Day, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great to see you.
Cheers.
Cheers.